I'm going to ask you to look at your hands. Open up your hands, look at your hands, and if you're not looking, you're not paying attention yet. Maybe they're calloused. Maybe they're not. It depends on what you do for a living. Maybe I sew, I stitch, I work in a factory line. Maybe I'm a priest. All those things that you do, the repetition over and over and over of your hands. Imagine Peter looking at his hands. Very calloused. Pulling rope, pulling in the nets over and over and over. As he's pulling it in after a long night's work of catching nothing, him looking at his hands, he is a very experienced fisherman. And now a man in the shore asks him to cast his nets on the other side. Meaning, he's experienced. In our lives, there's so many things we do over and over and over, and I imagine Christ interjects into our life, and he says, do it a different way. How would you feel? How would you feel if you've done it many, many times, and you're frustrated, and he's still, somebody out there, a voice out there says, do it a different way. That's exactly how Peter feels. And he's not even sure why. But maybe he's at his end's wits, and he's just, I cannot go any further. I'm very hungry. I need to pay my debts. Reminds me of a moment in which I have experience of water and trusting. Some legionaries have had the experience of entering the blue cave. If you know it, you know it. If you don't, you have no idea what it looks like. There is a mystical story, a legend maybe. There's a cave. When we go to the southern coast of Italy, the brothers go on vacation, we grab our snorkels and we grab our flippers. There is a cave, they say, if you swim 25 minutes along the cliffside, there is a place where you go 15 feet down and about 15 feet across, and you enter into this magical cave. That's what the brothers say. Some brothers say it, some brothers have been there, some others haven't. I've also heard other ones. I've heard this story for 14 years, sitting in that room of our novice instructor, saying how brothers have gone and how brothers have been banned from going there. Because if you don't find the right spot, if you don't go the right distance, the rocks above your head are razor sharp. And brothers have cut their heads. Imagine you're 25 minutes out into the ocean, along the ocean, and you're bleeding. What's out there? Sharks. So it's happened. Brothers have bled, and it's been banned. No more brothers, no more blue cave. After a while, we get new superiors, and they kind of forget about that ban. I know Father Sean's sitting over here. But when I was there, that ban had been forgotten. So there had been, again, but the only way to go is you have to go with somebody who's gone before, but not one, two. It has to be with two brothers who have been there before. The reason why is you're going to swim for about 25 minutes along this rock that looks like any other rock, and at one moment he says, we're here. And we're out there, it's open ocean, big waves, and he says, and one goes first by himself. He just goes into the dark, he goes down and he disappears, he doesn't come back. And no one checks for him because we don't even know where he's going. His job, he's going to go in first, make sure he clears all the rocks, and his flippers are going to be the signal for us that we've gone far enough. You cannot go short of his flippers before you rise above the water because the rocks are very sharp. So he waits in there while the second brother leads a group of 4 of us. I've heard this story for years. I'm an adrenaline junkie. I used to ride motorcycles. I love all of this. So that summer, before we went for the first time, we have a pool in Rome that's 15 feet deep. I was practicing in that pool to acclimate myself, to make sure it's not just going deep. Your body has to acclimate as well. You have to blow out as you get down there. So we swim out there. The height is very high. There's about 12 of us. The 2 brothers lead us first. We get to the point, and I'm the first group. I'm the first one in the first group because I am so hyped. I've been dreaming about this. So the brother goes out there, he leads us down. We go 15 feet down. I'm right on his tails. His flippers are right in front of my face. And as he goes towards the rocks, it gets darker and darker and darker. He disappears, his arms disappear, his legs disappear, and his flippers disappear. And I go right back. There's no way. It is pitch black. Like black, pitch black. And I'm 15 feet under. I go back. I turn back, and the other three follow him, and they disappear. We have no idea if they make it. I go back up. That second brother comes back, and he brings the next batch of 4. They disappear. He does it again, and there's one more chance with the last group. If I don't go with this batch, I'm staying in the ocean by myself while everybody is in this mystical myth, this legend of a cave. There's no way I'm staying out here. Even if I die, I'm not staying out here. Imagine the stories amongst the brothers. So I go. I go and I follow behind. Now I'm the very last one. I go, my face, his flippers are right in front of my face. I follow him into the darkness, turns completely black. And I have no idea if that cave, that hole is this size. That's what I'm imagining. I just have to be very tight and just go. I have no idea. So as soon as I go into that blackness, you just go into that dark, that blackness for a little while, just trust. Just trust. I turn around, and it is a massive opening, huge, bright blue aqua. It's a huge, huge opening, but you can only see that opening from the inside. From the outside, it is pitch black. And once I go inside, I look up, then I could see the other brother's feet still dangling there. And I want to surface, because when you're nervous, you run out of breath really quickly. So I know, I gotta go. And then right when I pass his feet, I come up, and the cave is pitch black, but when you look down at the hole, down only underneath the water, it's bright blue. And for those who've been there, if you splash the water, it's like blue crystals into the air. It's magical. I don't know how to explain it. You're just gonna have to take my word for it, or you go yourself. That is trust. In our lives, how many times we have those moments where he draws you into something where you're hyped about, you have a plan. I know this is for me, I have a plan, I have it all worked out. I was the first one in line. And as soon as it got darker and darker and darker, my doubt started to grow and grow and grow. And I panicked and I came back. How many times does that happen in our lives? God says, trust me, throw your nets on the other side. Trust me. And many times it's in that ordinary life of ours. I'm very comfortable. I'm in college. I'm happy here. I have a plan. I have a job lined up for me. I have a girlfriend. I have this. I have that. I'm comfortable. Don't ask me to cast the net on the other side. But you have no idea what's waiting for you. It's that blindness that really scares us. It's the unknown. How am I going to trust in an experience that I've never had before? I stand up here before you as a priest. And you're going to trust that because the superior is sitting right over there and he hasn't pulled me down. Because of that, you're going to believe what I say. You've already chosen to trust me. Before I got up here, you chose to trust in a person. Because maybe you trust another legionary, you trust another friend who's come and they're listening. So there's a chain of trusting here. Those 2 brothers that went first, I trusted them. And I believed that they had seen something I had never seen before. And so I followed. And then when so the disciples whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." When Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he tucked in his garments, for he was lightly clad, and jumped into the sea. The reaction that Peter had is a man who's witnessed something. He's a Peter that is never the same again. You're here because somebody else has invited you, somebody that you chose to trust. And who do they trust? somebody else that came before them and before them. Same with those two brothers. They had to have followed two other brothers. You sit here today as a chain of the faith. The chain here started 40 years ago in this physical space. And also the chain of vocations, the chains of the invitation. It requires a trust. In Genesis 12, God says to Abram, "Now the Lord said to Abram, go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you." To forfeit your own land, somebody will take it immediately. Yet he asked him to leave to an unknown land. God asked him to trust. He also asks you, if you're here for the Vocation Summit, we've been speaking about this, to sow. To trust that God has placed something in you, that he could work through you and reach so many other souls out there. He's asking you to be a bridge, just like those brothers who invited me were my bridge to discover something so grand. And to varying degrees, we're here because you've experienced the side of looking back. Somehow you've experienced Christ in your life, whether through the Eucharist, through a saint, through a devotion, through another person. You've been moved, you've seen, you've had a taste. For some, it's a murky blue. It's something in the darkness. For some, it's incredibly bright, to where you feel so convinced there's no reason why I should not go back and invite everybody with me. And once you have seen, you'll never be the same again. Peter jumped into the sea. He knew it was the Lord. I work with vocations, and I'm very charismatic. I'll just sow the seed, and I'll see what God does with it. I have no idea. We have long conversations. For those who've worked with me, I have long conversations. But there are certain trigger words that as soon as that young man says that word, there's something here. And there's one where I asked him, after coming to visit Cheshire a few times, and I was on the way home with him, and I said, well, how was that experience we were just at? It was at a youth event, many girls, many young men, many young girls, and it was a lot of fun. And he said, after that encounter I had with Christ, that experience just seems bland. It's like black and white compared to the color that I experience when I've encountered Christ. For me, if anything, if the world seems bland after encountering Christ, there's something here. He's touched this soul in a particular way. And in our lives, sometimes he gives us moments of color. In this anniversary of these 40 years, it's also a moment of gratitude, to remember all those moments God has allowed in our lives. How did I get here? What about my own vocation, my marriage, my family, my children? To remember in gratitude and to bring others along with me after having seen. So today, for the rest of this adoration, I invite you, and the adoration list we still need spots to be covered. I invite you to cover more adoration slots. There's a list right outside the door out here to finish this adoration or continue that adoration that you signed up for. I invite you to take the dive, to throw the net on the other side in whatever he's inviting you in your life right now. Each and every single one of you are in your own state of life with something that's dark on the other side that you cannot see, but he's inviting you. You know, because he's been tugging. He's been asking. Asking for the grace, with the courage to be able to go into that darkness, to trust him because I choose to trust him. Lord, I choose to trust you. Lead me, even though I cannot see. Lead me. And if you want, that I be a bridge that others follow you as well through me. That I be a bridge that's encountered you through other bridges. Lord, I trust you. Lead me.